Hi everybody, my name is Scott Verosi. Welcome to Liszt Principles. I've been writing a book and it's actually already finished on mirror harmony, also known as negative harmony. And I wanted to create some videos to go over some of the concepts that are in the book. The book's called The Broad-Eye Notebook, and it tries to look at mirror harmony as a holistic approach to harmony in general and music theory in general, and also place it in historical context. So we're looking at examples from Franz Liszt and Wagner and Bartók, primarily, to get some context and talk about where this stuff started out. And I wanted to give kind of an overview of what all is in there. There's symmetry transformations, where you take a symmetry point on the keyboard and whatever you build this way, you flip it so that it reverses. And then we have balance transforms. Balance transforms is like a shorthand way of combining different symmetry transformations. So you'll flip over one axis, then you'll flip over another axis, and you'll get something that's a combination of those two axes. But you can accomplish that by doing something called balance transforms, where if you have a four-voice voicing and one voice goes up a half step, you can balance that by another voice going down a half step. So motion upwards is matched by motion downwards. There's two other main things that the book covers. One is chord types, where we've got basic chord taxonomy, I guess you'd call it, and major and minor for sure, but then dominant 7 chords mirror into minor 7 flat 5 chords, and we've got a major with a flat 5 like this, and that mirrors into a minor chord with a major 7 in it. What else do we have? We've got a number of symmetrical chords where they'll mirror into themselves, like a dominant with the 5 lowered. So something like this. That's its own reflection. The same with a major 6 chord. That's its own reflection, where that'll mirror into the same type of chord. We can do that in another video. Right now I want to talk about the two different kinds of symmetry. You can create symmetry over a single note, or you can create symmetry over the space between two notes. And I just call those single note symmetry and symmetry pair symmetry, or neighbor note symmetry. And we can look at these examples in C. The best place to see this on the keyboard is D as a single note symmetry point. And we can build a bunch of structures right off of that D. And so we'll have another video about chord types, where we just look at them flipping over each other, but we might cover some of that now. And then finally, there's going to be a video about the different progressions, like how you look at this extended harmony, but still functional harmony. Extended harmony is still functional, but it widens. You've got any chord can really resolve 4 different ways forward and 4 different ways backwards. So that's my way of talking about authentic cadences, like the 5 to the 1, versus plagal cadences or backward cadences, which is the minor, the 4 chord going to the 1, something like that is the simplest plagal cadence, and the 4 minor for sure is very classic sound. So, but for now, let's look at the two different types of symmetry. And we'll go to the D as a single note symmetry first, where I'm going to try to back up here to be able to see as much as possible and talk about, like, here's a D, right? Now, if I go up a whole step in each direction, I'm in the key of C right now. The second degree of the key is the symmetry point. Oh, and that's another video we're going to do. We're going to do secondary symmetry points, because for every single symmetry point, there's another one that's the same, creates the same results. It's a tritone away. would be remiss if I didn't show my little buddy the mirror harmony cipher disc. And if we want to create a single note symmetry, we pair the note that is our axis point with itself. And then every note that is paired will be paired with the correct note. So if we go up a whole step from D, we get C and E. And if you look for an E, you see it's paired with a C. If you look for a C, you'll see it's paired with an E. Directly across from the D, you see that your A flat and your G sharp are matched together. So that's the secondary symmetry point. You can't get a symmetry axis without, you know, a byproduct being that you've created another symmetry axis. So we'll talk about the in-between two notes symmetry in a second, but let's just kind of riff about this kind of stuff. So real quick, you'll see that you can create your diminished chord symmetrically here. So you've got the most not resolved sound in the key of C is just going minor thirds away from that symmetry center. So really, you know, dominant of this is G7 for sure. But the real resolving notes are the D, F, A flat, B. And we also get this thing where major 6 chord is this kind of in the Barry Harris neighborhood. For any of the jazzers out there, Barry Harris has a thing where he creates structures with a major 6 chord being interspersed with a diminished chord. And those harmonies are very kind of classical and just a big part of the Western music vocabulary. And they all come out, to me, they come out of this symmetrical creation where you go, your D goes up minor thirds to F and B, then up minor thirds to A flat, then up minor thirds to B. And you've created that diminished chord, which is the most not resolved, the most tense group of notes in the key of C. They all really want to go back to C. I mean, they want to go to 3 other keys as well, but let's talk about that some other time. And then you see these structures. If I go up a whole step instead of a minor third, and then I go a minor third from there, and a whole step from there, and then a minor third from there, I've got this really pretty and resolved major 6 chord. And then you've got all this symmetrical motion where the F and the B want to go a half step up to E and C. So you've got that resolution, and then you've got your A flat wants to go split itself. It wants to go up a half step and down a half step to the G and the A. So that's a bunch of symmetrical. And that's kind of the concept behind the mirror harmony thing, is there's these gravities where the motion in one direction is equal to the motion in another direction. So, and you can use that same motion to create gravities to different places. So it's just some neat stuff, and it starts getting really quickly into counterpoint type of stuff. So that D splits to the E, C, and then and so we're really looking at a major scale with a flat 6 added to get all that stuff. while we're here, it's just, I mean, just very interesting to kind of say, I'm getting, just by moving symmetrically away from the D, I'm getting all my tonic information for a C major scale. That's very, the C, E, the 1 and the 3 of that scale, extremely resolved and harmonious. The F and the B really pulling back to the C and the E. And then the G and the A are like the other kind of harmonious pair. And you'll see in a lot of this mirror harmony stuff, you'll see things where the 1 and the 3 are friends and the 5 and the 6 are friends. And you see harmonies diverging away from these thirds. Thirds and roots and 5s and 6s. And just to give one example off the top of my head, if I go to two note harmony, neighbor tone harmony right here, E flat and E, and I do the same thing where I go up in my third, I call that the third of C, and this is the root of E flat, then all of a sudden you've got this polytonal counterpoint, polymodal, I should call it, polymodal counterpoint, where symmetrically, because it's symmetrical, because the gravity is the same in both directions, it just makes sense. It has some meaning, some tonal meaning, but it is polymodal because to go down the same intervals this way, I create the E flat major scale. To go the same intervals this way, I create the C major scale. So it's like half step, whole step, whole step, whole step. So let's just do that much of it. Half step, whole step, whole step, whole step. And we'll get one more just to, so you just kind of did that's a very basic polymodal thing. That's 2-note symmetry. If I were to use my mirror harmony cipher disk to access that, I would say E flat gets paired with E natural. This is a very classic negative harmony thing where you flipping C major into C minor. But I look at it as C major flipping into E flat major. It just keeps it straight in my head to really only think of things in terms of major, even though I know that, if I start from the third of a major scale, I get the Phrygian and blah, blah, like all that modal stuff. But it gets very complicated very fast if you think of them as, well, what mode of what scale is flipping into what mode of what scale? I really just think of it as one major flipping into another major. And then, so that would be, again, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. And going this way, those two are each other's mirror reflection over this axis. And then you go half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. So you get E flat major going down and C major going up. And so you come in and out of these, polymodal. It sounds like, well, we're in two keys at the same time, but at the same time, we're using symmetry to justify that and give it, make some sense of it, really. So it's like, yeah, we're in two modes, but really, like, which one, we can hear the major, like if I'm in C, but I'm going, you hear all that stuff against C, and it creates different colors. Okay, so again, I want to say something pretty neat right here. These are just, I'm kind of just riffing about all these connections. I don't, I'm just saying really cool things that you notice. Like you build it this way. You'll also notice when you look at the mirror harmony cipher disk, which is again, 2 circles of fifths going in opposite directions. And all it is like it's a mirror harmony transposition wheel. So rather than moving from one key to another, we're flipping structures over a given axis. And if I choose my D axis, you'll really quickly see D is the symmetry center of C major. meaning that if I move in symmetrical intervals out from D, I create the C major scale. And we see it right here. You've got your second degrees here, your 5 and your 6 are here, your 1 and your 3 are here, and your most dissonant intervals are right here, your F and your B, your 4 and your 7. Now what's cool when you look at this is that you'll see that there's kind of a mirror scale. There's like a polar opposite scale. And obviously it's A flat is the polar opposite of D. It's the tritone away. That's as far away as you can be in the cycle of fifths without moving closer again. So A flat is our other symmetry center, our shadow symmetry center or invisible symmetry center, secondary symmetry center, and it is the second degree of G flat. Of course, G flat is a tritone away from C major. It's the most different of a scale you can have. If you look at the mirror harmony cipher disc real quick, right here, you'll see the top, the semicircle right here is C major, and what's left is the major pentatonic scale of G flat major. So G flat, A flat, B flat, D flat, E flat, or in other words, the black keys of the keyboard. And if you wanted to build a G flat major scale, you would just include B, also known as C flat in the key of G flat, and you would have your F, which is the 7th degree. So what's neat is when you look at it this way, you've got two polar opposite scales and they share these two notes. But they flip functionality. So F is the 4 of C major, but the 7 of G flat major. B is the 7 of C major, but the 4 of G flat major. And a neat way of looking at it, again, we chose D because visually it's the very center of the keyboard, like black key, white key, white key, black key, white key, black key, white key, black key, white key, white key, black key. It's going up and going down are exactly the same visually on the keyboard. Now you can do any of these from any note, but it's trickier to visualize the way it is with the D. So like learning it all based on D first is kind of a big deal. And I wanted to show that your symmetry center is, it's active for both at the same time, by which I mean, like if I go up a whole step in each direction, I get my E, and then let's leave out the F for now. Let's just do the major 6 chord, E, and then a minor third, and then a whole step, and then a minor third. I've created that C6, which is the resting tones of C major. But if I change the intervals that I go up, if I go up a half step, and then a minor third, and then a major third, I've created that G flat major 6 chord. So it's like the polar opposite mirror reflection of that C major 6 chord. And there's a balance transform right here where you can turn those guys into each other. And there is a moment, just to bring it to Liszt, because this channel is called Liszt Principles, there's a really cool moment, like almost smack dab in the middle of the Faust Symphony by Liszt, where he does this exact transformation. Now he does D major 6, just flipping into A flat major 6 at that moment, but we'll do it here because it's more visually obvious to do it from here to here. Once you hear the Faust Symphony, you'll hear that moment dead in the center of that composition. And it's got that feeling to it where you've just passed from one world into another through the looking glass almost. So, and you see these balance transforms. I said that balance transforms are where you have the motion down equals the motion up. So if I go down a half step in this voice, I go up a half step in this voice, or it can get more complicated than that, but that's the simplest way to do it. So if I have this, the first part of the balance is my E flat and D flat. One goes up a half step, the other goes down a half step. So again. And the other part of the balance transform is my G flat and B flat, both, they compress. So it's like this is an expansion right here, the D flat, E flat, expand to CE. And you get a compression on the B flat, G flat. G flat goes up a half step, B flat comes down a half step, and you get G and A. So again, the whole thing is this. And you'll hear that right in the middle of Faust Symphony, which I highly recommend gets added to the listening list. No pun intended. And what you kind of start to see, you see this, the dissonant matrix, and then the consonant matrix is a choice. You could be on D flat, E flat, or E, C. And then when you get up here, you could be G flat, B flat from your G flat major 6 chord, or you could be G and A. And then when you get up another step, you could be G, A, or B flat and F sharp. And then you could be C or D flat, E flat. Based on, and what I'm doing there is I'm going, well, these are my notes from my G flat, E flat, D flat, G flat, B flat, and G flat, B flat again. And these are the notes from my C major 6. E, C, G, A, and A, G. And if I look at them in pairs, I've got like those two, those two, those two. Now, if I were to play all that linearly, what I would have is, it is a half step, whole step chromatic scale. And it is the whole step, half step chromatic scale, I should say diminished scale, whole step, half step diminished scale, which is the combination of C diminished and D flat diminished. And you know what? There's only 3 diminished 7 chords in the world, or in the 12-tone system. That one, and the one that we started all this with, the D, F, A flat, B. So one of the big deals of the Liszt principles, and really Barry Harris approach, I kind of assume, I haven't dug too deep into that, but in terms of what you get if you're doing the Barry Harris thing of switching between a major 6 and a diminished 7, is, well, you could flip to that and be doing the same thing. Your negative space is, the negative space is the, what do I want to say? Tense, the tension. The tension is the negative space, but the positive space is the same for C and G flat. So there's all these structures that get created by building chords from that whole half diminished, this scale. Sorry, I got one wrong. And you've got a bunch of chords in there that are waiting to be mushed together. But your negative space stays the same. But I resolve to my C major, and then negative space again, D, F. But this time I pop up half step. Now, if I go asymmetrical with my choices between these two notes, because again, I could use E flat or E, F sharp or G, A or B flat, and that's my positive space for creating my chord. So if I choose E, G, and A, I get my C major 6. Oh, I also get to choose in between D flat and C. And so if I choose these, I get my C major 6. But if I choose C sharp out of these two, and E flat out of these two, and G flat out of these two, and B flat out of these two, I get that G flat major 6. Same negative space that wants to pull towards it. Now, what if I go asymmetrical? So I don't just choose from D, half step, minor third, major third, or whole step, minor third, whole step. I don't choose symmetrical things. I go asymmetrical. I mix and match my pairs. I go, well, out of these two, I'm going to choose E. Out of these two, I'm going to choose C sharp. Out of these two, I'm going to choose A. And then out of these two, I'm going to choose F sharp. Now, all of a sudden, I've got an A major 6 chord. And I can do a little symmetry flip here to get another option, actually my fourth option for my positive space pairs. Again, my positive space pairs. All the notes of an 8-tone diminished scale. But I chose this one, this one, this one, and this one. And what it is an A major 6 chord. Or an F sharp minor 7 chord. But here's a great example of a symmetry flip where I go, look at the shape here. To the right of the D, then right to the left of the D, and then down a major third, down a minor third, right? This exact shape, like white key, black key, white key, black key. If I do the same thing the other way, it's a symmetry flip. And it's the same relationship that we did between the C and the G flat. This is an E flat major 6 chord. And you'll see that you see that it's the same exact thing. This is what I'm talking about, the visual help of looking at it from D. So, you see that shape? Same thing as here. So that's a very visual thing where you go, oh, that E flat, it just flips into that. Over that D axis. Meanwhile, I'm just changing the relationship between this and this to get there. Now, you could use F as a symmetry point or B as a symmetry point. Well, actually, they're the same symmetry point. So rather than D, you could use B or F, and then you'd get the same relationship between your E flat and your A as you do between C and D flat here. But it's not as visual, so I just wanted to show that. Once again, this E flat flips over the D in true symmetry reflection form into, so that shape exactly flipped over the D is this. And then the balance transform, very basic example, is your C where the amount of motion up matches the amount of motion down, and we get to G flat major 6. And all of these have D diminished 7 as the negative space, or the most tense. It's the diminished 7th chord that didn't get included in that 8 note. It's kind of the odd man out, and it's the thing that wants to tonicize all 4 of those other chords. Can that structure can go to that E flat we were talking about? Or this can go to this. And then that same thing can go to your C major 6. And that same thing can go to your G flat major 6. So that's kind of axis harmony, which is chords related in minor thirds are functionally equivalent. That's a Lendvai concept. Ernő Lendvai, Hungarian theorist. A lot of the Liszt principles are found by tracing back through the works of Lendvai and Wagner and Bartók, and then finally Liszt as kind of the first example. And Liszt, in his Dante and Faust symphonies, has laid out a bunch of this stuff. Very, like almost textbook example-y kind of stuff of this. So that's my single note symmetry axis little approach, or just kind of primer, just kind of like look at these cool things. But the axis harmony is that functionally equivalent chords are minor thirds away. So in the key of C, the way Lendvai looks at it, and Bartók and Liszt in numerous examples, and Wagner, is that these things can be functionally equivalent, like an A major is a tonic chord in the key of C. And people will say secondary dominance, blah, 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 and all that stuff. But really just the equivalence of A minor and C, you should be able to sharp that C sharp and still have it. It ends up being like a tension, that A is more a tension over the C than it is a dominant chord. And you can say, well, it's pulling to the subdominant or whatever. Sure, okay, but the tonic pulls to the subdominant anyway. So the shorthand way of looking at it is that A and C and E flat and G flat are functionally equivalent if you're composing in this way. Okay, so let's move on and look at the second type of symmetry very quickly. I might do a longer video on this, but just so we have touched on the 2 different points. And I do want to say that if there's a functional difference, if you could put it in simple terms, I would say that the single note symmetry very quickly turns into what I would call diatonic or tonal. Very quickly into tonal sounding, almost classically resolving type of things, whereas the neighbor-tone symmetry, or the symmetry per axis symmetry, or between 2 notes symmetry, really quickly gets you into dissonant kind of sounding stuff, and more expressionist or impressionist, or different kind of painting, more abstract kind of sounds, and also modal sounds. And I can go real quick into the modal aspect of it by going, okay, well, let's choose E flat E as our symmetry pair, right? E flat E is our introduction into half step symmetry, where E mirrors into E flat. And if I go, we already did the simple example of going up a half step from there and down a half step from there, and up a whole step, and up a whole step and down a whole step, and up a whole step and down a whole step. and up a half step and down a half step. So we're playing E major and E flat major at the same time. And so you start to get this dissonance right away. But also you can do neat things like this, where you go E flat, let's go up to F, and then all of a sudden we've got this fourth, and then a fourth that way, and then a fourth this way, and I've created like a fourth voicing. Let's see, like something like this. You start to get into fourths, modal type of stuff right away. And chromatic stuff. So, well, let's leave that alone. But we'll just, so any of your real dissonant stuff, and these things, they turn out and go into your, most of your classic chord types, your dominant sevenths you create from this structure, and your minor 7 flat 5s and blah blah blah, all that stuff you start building with this. So again, if I go like an E, let's go E flat major, and then flip that over this half step axis, and we will go, so E flat flips into E, going down a major third from there, because I went up a major third, E flat to G would be E to C, and then a minor third up from the G to the B flat would be a minor third down here. So you've got the same thing that we were doing before, where you've got this E flat major mirrors into an A minor. And then if I change my A minor to A major, I change the E flat to an E flat minor. So you're getting all these things that are kind of tonally yeah, I guess tonally, I don't know, like all acceptable sounds to play over like a tonic C7 chord. And the reason, I'll probably do another video just on neighbor-tone symmetry, because you get a lot of really cool stuff out of mixing those chords together. But you really have your, just, it's tensions really over like a C7 chord especially, where that's your sharp 9, that's your sharp 11, and that's your flat 7 if you've got that E flat minor. And then the reflection of that is that now we're back to that A minor sound, where it's that major 6 sound. But then you could go back, you could make the A major, and all of a sudden that's flat 9, 3, 6, and then that goes to the E flat minor. So the neat thing is you've got, so that E flat major is really, it's like C minor 7. E flat major and the C major 6, A minor is C major 6. So you've really got the consonant sounds there, the major 6, and then the minor 7 is the reflection of that. So C minor is the C major 6 sound, and E flat major is the C minor 7 sound. But then I go, okay, well, I'm gonna make that A major, and all of it, I'm throwing in the B flat 7 just for like, to turn it into a dominant, a tonic dominant, right? And that's the flat 2, and the 3 and the 6. So we're in more dissonant territory immediately. And when I flip that over the axis, the E flat, I get E flat minor from A major flips into E flat minor. The sharp 9, sharp 11, and flat 7. So it's just showing how you get all those different sounds by flipping things over this axis. You can do this. You get a bunch of great results from this axis as well. The C and the C sharp. I want to wrap this up by showing you how you can combine two axes. Yeah, I'll say axes. You can combine two axes together to get even more cool results, or, you know, show you a bunch of tonality based stuff. When I say tonality, I just mean like different sounds in the same root sound. Okay? And I want to do, for example, C7. If we build C7 like this, that's the most compact way we can do C7 right there. Now, if we flip C7 over the E flat axis so that E becomes E flat, and instead of being oh my gosh, okay, so you got E G right here and C B flat here. That's important. Two components, right? They're going to change places. So E G and C B flat. Now E G is a minor third going this way. So we're going to have a minor third going this way. We get C E flat. So E G turns into C E flat. And then the bottom part, which was the C B flat, well, it was a major third below where I started with this E. So I need to be a major third above where I go to. So I need to start from, okay, these guys turned into these guys. Cool? And then E down to C is a major third down. So I need to go a major third up from here, E flat to G, and then a whole step up from there. So GA. So these two reflect into these two. I mean, you could, I don't know, like, I'm not going to get too lost in doing it over and over again, but these two become these two. And then these two become these two. So the reflection over the E flat E axis, C7 turns into, goes into, so C minor 6 is the reflection. Now I'm going to flip this shape over the D, because I want to show something. I want to show that these two axes combine. Let's flip this. So basically these flipped over D are these, right? Obviously, I mean, it's the same. It's a black and a white going into a black and white. So my C minor 6 is turning into these two turn into these two, and then my GA just flip over they just go down to here. This G and A, because, right, G is this far and A is this far, and then G is, they mirror into each other. So G and A just go down here, and they mix with this. So all that to say, my C7 chord is this, but it mirrors over the E flat E axis to this C minor 6 chord, and then that mirrors over the D single note axis to this, and that's an A7 chord. And there's tons of examples. I mean, right on the first page of Tristan und Isolde by Wagner, he does one where he goes from, I think it's just C7, E flat 7, A7, or maybe it starts in A7, but it goes through all four. A7, E flat 7, G flat 7, and C7. They're all in the same almost measure, to just kind of show that malleability and that ability to transform over these mirror axes. And I could do them all, but I'm not going to, because this video is getting pretty long right now, but I'll just do this one more time. You've got your C7, and to flip it over the E flat E axis, you all of a sudden get C minor 6. And then you flip that over the D single note axis, and you get A7. And when I say that balance transforms are just kind of a shorthand for numerous symmetry reflections, this is a fantastic example, because you could have your C7 like, let's do it like this. Is that the best? Is that the clearest way to do it? Probably I want to do like here, like this. That's my C7, and I can go, my bottom note, the C, can come up a half step to get that C sharp, and at the same time my B flat can come down a half step to get that A. And all of a sudden I've got that A7, I've got that C7 balance transforming into A7. And it's very pretty, and it's very acceptable, and all of a sudden you're in a different realm, and it can all be justified through mirror harmony. And real quick, we'll show that on this guy real quick. We'll go to our E flat, E flat, and I said C, E, C, C, E, right there, there and there, C, E, and then B flat's going to be A sharp, C, E, G, B flat. Where's my G? Oh, they're right there together. So cool, got it. Thumb here is C and G, major third, and flat 7 down there. And we go to, and those flip into G and C, just trade places, and then E becomes E flat up here, and B flat becomes A. So if C7 is on the outside, C, G, E, B flat, then on the inside is G, C, E flat, A. That's the minor 6 chord. And then you take that minor 6 chord and you create a single note axis by going D's matched with D. And then I go, my C, G is right here, my A is here, and my D sharp, which is well, actually, let's put the minor chord on the inside. So look on the inside for this. The CG is right here on the inside, and then your E flat's right there, and then your A natural is over here. So CG, A natural, E flat, those are your notes. And if you look on the outside, you get E, G, C sharp, and where's A? A is right there. So CG go to AE, and your A becomes a G, which is the flat 7, and your E flat becomes a C sharp, which is the major third. So C minor 6 on the inside flips into A dominant 7 on the outside. And that's combining the two types of symmetry, the single note symmetry and the neighbor-tone symmetry, the in-between two note symmetry. Anyway, this is a lot, but it's all there is. So I don't know if I've got, there's hours of video at this point, probably a couple hours, but really it's like, that's all the stuff there is. You have to move it into the different keys and whatever, but once you understand symmetry transforms and you start to see them over different axes, and you understand balance transforms where you just move, it's a shortcut. This one goes down a half step, this one goes up a half step. Once you start to see all these, they start to meld together, and then you start to be able to kind of create with them. Balance transforms especially are very easy to kind of create from scratch. You take some intervals, and then you start balance transforming them in different directions, and they morph through different tonalities and different polymodal combinations and stuff. Anyway, I am really excited to be sharing this stuff with you. I have a 5-email course, totally free, in the description of this video. You can find the link for that. Sign up for that, please. And when you do, I'll get nothing but your email in return, and you can cancel at any time that you're on the email list. But I'd like to keep you apprised of stuff that I'm putting out in terms of trying to make the Mirror Harmony cipher disc available for people to purchase, and not expensive or anything like that. And also the book that I have, the Bredai notebook, which just came out, and super excited to get that into people's hands. And then please, I think my email should be in the description as well. If you want to email and just ask questions or open a conversation, I'd love for that to happen as well. Again, Liszt is kind of the guiding light for a lot of this, Franz Liszt, and his Faust and Dante symphonies are a great place to start to hear all of these in a very straightforward format and start using them. Anyway, my name is Scott Verossi. On behalf of the Liszt Principles, I thank you for your time and can't wait to talk and interact in the future. Thanks so much. Bye.